You're listening to the Cute Podcast. I'm your host, Kiana Canada, and this is where we talk about pressing issues that are shaping our world today. In this episode, we are talking about transnational repression and family. And this week, I was having conversations with my niece about transnational repression. It's a practice that not if you recall, that a lot of people don't quite understand. And I was giving my niece information about the practice. I was leaving her voice notes about the information on WhatsApp because we had a disagreement about some of the information that was coming through to her. And that I believe that toxic authority figures who were perpetuating this practice of transnational repression was telling her to tell me in an effort to intimidate me. And we know that this is called proxy threats. It's where the toxic authority figures will often pretend to befriend our families and the people that we care about. This is, of course, is the way that democratic regimes engage in transnational repression. It's not indicative of how most authoritarian regimes engage in transnational repression, but often what happens is that authority figures will try and befriend our family members and, tell them to tell us uncomfortable information that will get a reaction out of our family, or to get a reaction out of the human rights defender or the diaspora member. Now, this is not to be confused with family problems and friendship problems, or just like, say for instance, you have a friend and you guys are in a disagreement. So you have a BFF and you guys are in a disagreement, and you contact your BFF's sister, or you contact your BFF's mother, or you contact your BFF's cousin, or another BFF to try and get information, or you vent to them. This is not to be confused with that kind of dynamic, family dynamic. This is a different dynamic that is used to isolate, to facilitate abuse, and to chip away at the family element and to tear those families apart. So I have attached 2 recordings that I have given my niece about transnational repression, and some of the conversations that we had that has given me an indication that she was probably being coerced into giving me information that made her uncomfortable and made me uncomfortable as well. So take a listen.
Yes, so I just want to say, Tiffany, that if someone ever calls you, this is just to be safe, and you feel a sense of intimidation that you're being asked to do something that you don't want to do, but somebody is making you do that, you need to immediately contact Freedom House and let them know that somebody is trying to threaten you, to tell you to do things that you don't want to do. And this is just information, not saying that this is going to happen or that it's happening. This is just for your information, because of course, again, I am researching a condition, and one of the conditions, of course, that is happening is that countries, they intimidate family, and it's happening to a lot of activists, human rights defenders, and journalists. So if you ever receive a call from someone and they're telling you to call me to tell me things that are pejorative or that are charging and disgusting, and not saying that this will happen, but if it ever does happen, it's called transnational repression, and you should contact Freedom House. It's a place that specializes in this type of activity. So just FYI, if it ever happens, just so you know.
Thank you for all your messages. I really understand them clearly, and I understand that you needed to vent in a time where, we had a difficult point in our conversation, and I appreciate that you got things off your chest and let me know what was on your mind, just as I did in that conversation. So the thing is this, Tiffany, is that I do believe you, as I stated before, but I may not believe some of the facts that you're giving me, because I understand that currently authority figures are intimidating people, and right now I do understand that you could be intimidated. And these messages that you sent to me that are quite long and detailed is something that you've never done before. So I've known you for 18 years and never had you articulated a response like this and sent me detailed messages such as this before. And I think after we got off the phone, we had a very good conversation. And I told you I was proud of you and that I was looking out for your best interest when you were telling me certain information. So it just doesn't seem like the Tiffany that I know that would continue to give me information that is not part of your character and not part of your lifestyle, because the Tiffany I know wouldn't even talk to somebody like that and come into contact with somebody like that. So it just seems like the information is scripted and staged, and it seems like this is coming from authority figures that are pressuring you to say that. And the Tiffany that I know, again, wouldn't even come into contact with individuals like that. So again, I believe that you had your experiences. I do. And I believe that you would go through things that you would go through. And I trust that most of the time that you would tell me the truth. But I also understand, Tiffany, that right now I'm going through a practice called Transnational Repression. And I understand the specific aspects of that practice known as transnational repression. And you have to understand, Tiffany, that under this practice, you don't have to participate. If an authority figure is contacting you, and if they're telling you things that are, they're coming to you, making it appear as if they're befriending you, or that they like you, or that they trust you, and they're telling you you can trust them, you need to understand that this is all a facade. It's fake, and that they're not trusting you. Basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to tear our family apart. And I'll give you an example that is quite different from if you were in, a situation. Let's say, for instance, you had a boyfriend and you contacted, I'm not not boyfriend, but like if you had a family member or sister or cousin or aunt or whatever, you contacted them and you told them some very truthful information. And I trust that you would tell me truthful information, but I also understand that authority figures right now are manipulating families of journalists, activists, and human rights defenders. And I would be naive to think that wouldn't happen to me. And based on the way that your testimony has been when you have contacted me, and sometimes you contact me and you are talking only about specific things that wouldn't be something that you would talk about. You would ask me questions about things that you wouldn't even talk about. So this is things that you're asking me about. And again, this is not coming from a state of suspicion. This is coming from a state of knowledge and education and understanding and intellectual research and scientific finding. And I just want us to remain a family. And the only way, Tiffany, that we can remain a family, truthfully, is if you have the courage to tell the authority figures that could be telling you things to try and get a reaction out of yourself and to get a reaction out of me. Do you see now, like, what has happened is that you've contacted me and you drafted me long letters about a conversation that we had about a man who isn't even in our family. So you talk about right now, you and I, we are having a disagreement about a guy who you met on Facebook, who I told you you deserve better and that you needed to find another man who was not incarcerated, because I said that you're a trans woman who's coming into herself and that she could find a man who is a man who is free. Like, you need to find someone your age who is not in jail, and someone you can go and do activities with and do wonderful things with. You that guy that you were contacting on Facebook, you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, you can contact anyone that you want to contact, but I want you to, as your aunt and as someone who has been through what you've gone through, I want you to contact and have a life that is proper for you. And the only way that you can do that is if you see it for yourself. And again, you and I, we had a wonderful conversation after I told you that I really did believe you, but I may have not believed the set of facts that you gave me. I believe that you could have gone through a situation like that. It is possible for you as a trans woman, as a human being, to go through such a shocking event like that. But some of the details of the event that you gave me, they weren't adding up. And that's just the truth. Now, that's not for me to examine, but it's for you to examine. Again, look, at 3:00 in the morning, you have sent me a long detailed correspondences, right? And your long detailed correspondences, I think you were bringing up the past, and you did that in a way to, I guess, I don't know. But again, I read it fully and I understand where you're coming from. But again, I need to advise you, Tiffany, one more time. And this is for your safety, and this is for my safety as well. And you have to trust me on this. If you don't trust me on this, you and I will continue, unfortunately, to have disagreements because on specific things, because you're not taking the advice that I'm giving you. Right? I have to say it again one last time. And it's for your safety as well as mine. Because of the asylum claim that I filed, authority figures are upset with me. And they're upset that Americans are filing asylum claims because they don't want Americans to file asylum. And one way that they stop Americans from filing asylum, or they stop an activist from filing asylum, and they stop an activist from achieving their goals as a researcher or a human rights advocate or a journalist, is to intimidate their family, but the intimidation may not look like intimidation. It may look like a person coming into your life, befriending you, telling you to do things, and telling you to do specific things for specific reasons. And understand this is that a true friend for you, Tiffany, that is on the outside of your family is never going to tell you to do things to your family member so that you and your family member can argue. Just remember that. A true friend is never going to do that. Now, if you're telling me something that I did, and you basically you're telling me about what I've done, you're calling me about something that I've done, but a true friend and a true person that really cares for you and really they're not going to have you give your family member information that is going to cause us to argue, okay? And that's just the truth. Again, I believe there's never been a time in my life that I said I don't believe your stories, but or your experiences. But also, we have to have conversations about what is actually happening and what's not happening. And again, there were some details that you told me, because first you said that you were talking to a guy and that he wasn't in jail and that you guys were dating. And then you said that he was in jail and that he had this background. So for me, it just didn't seem authentic. And again, I believe you if it did happen, but I also believe that authority figures could pressure you into saying something like that. And when you truly don't want to say something like that, or they would pressure you into saying something like that because of the practice of transnational repression. And again, I'm calling on you as my niece, that if someone ever, I don't care who they are, I don't care if it's Barack Obama, I don't care if it is a bald head white guy named Maurice who is tall and has blue eyes. I don't care if it's a heavyset Pakistani guy named Assad Mahmoud who's standing next to authority figures. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's someone here, it could be somebody here that is homosexual that's pretending to be my friend and telling you to say stuff like this to me. I don't care who it is. I should be the first person. You should say, you know what, Kiana, somebody's telling me to ask you A, B, C, and D. And I want to get your opinion. Like, who is this person that's asking me to ask you A, B, and C? Okay. And you'll see that things will be better and things will clear up, and that there'll be more clarity if you take that position the next time this happens. But if you never take that position ever, if you don't ever take that position to stand up to the people that are doing this, then you and I, we will continue to have these kinds of confrontations. Again, this is coming from an experienced person who I'm experienced, and I've researched this practice of transnational repression thoroughly, and I understand that they can call family members and threaten them and intimidate them in a way that would appear as if it's not a threat. And I'm calling on you as my niece to really stand up for yourself and to stand up for us, to recognize that if someone is calling you to give you information that seems to be out of the ordinary, to stand up to them.